2020 has been a wild year. I think everyone agrees with that. And in terms of landscape architecture and the world, it's reminded us how connected we all are. And not only that, but how we crave connection with each other and with our environment and with spaces and plants and those kinds of things. So I think it highlights the importance of space and connectedness of everything more and more, and therefore landscape architecture.
Heritage, I think, will be more important coming up, partly from changes to the RMA. And I think people might pay more attention to design and planning that is good for health.
I think everything's coming together to try and tell us that we need to change the way we live on this planet. So sometimes it feels like this year has changed everything and we're going to make it a better world, and other times it feels like, despite everything that's happened this year, we're just going to go back to the way that we have been doing things. So it's a bit of a, ups and downs, but I try and stay positive and proactive about the future, optimistic that if we get brave leadership, and particularly in Aotearoa, we can actually lead the world in creating a rebalancing of things.
The way the pandemic has unfurled has partly been due to the way that we live currently, the fact that the population is getting larger and we're intruding into more and more wilderness spaces, which has created a lot of tension between the two. So we've got this sort of situation which people said was inevitable, was going to happen and will happen again. So I feel like landscape architecture has got a really key role in the future of the redesign of spaces, I guess, and making sure that we've got enough space for people and the environment to coexist. And it's something that is crucial to our survival as a species. So I feel like it's pretty key. It's one of the key things that we can do.
Nature seemed to breathe a sigh of relief when we were in our first lockdown. The Waitemata Harbour was clearer. There were more dolphins and whales. There seemed to be. Birds seemed louder. It made it more obvious to me that our way of life is kind of actively suppressing natural processes. And if we take our foot off the gas, literally, we'll probably witness a resurgence of environmental quality. So I think there's probably more call now for designing in moments of excellence into our cities, to provide a network of interconnected terrestrial and marine habitats. I'd really like to see some sanctuaries on our maunga, and on the Waitemata Harbour would be a really good start to achieving that.
I think it's highlighted the importance of self-sufficiency, and in a global sense, which reinforces the importance of the Te Ao Māori approach, the holistic approach to the health of the land and to the health of the people. And I also think that it's showed that we can work in a different way. We can still function as landscape architects from home. It might not be quite as efficient, but at least we can adapt to change.
We need to think more about larger spaces, whereas previously we're kind of doing more intimate and sort of pocket parks. And so in terms of the public space, bigger spaces to allow for social distancing, more opportunities for connectivity to nature. So it's becoming really clear that we need more community spaces within each community and accessibility to those spaces. And I think people are more, they're craving that connection to nature.
Living and working through the COVID lockdown has demonstrated to us what our cities might look like if people behave very differently in terms of the amount of people that we move around by vehicles and by walking, and what our town and village and city centres might look like. And we saw that certainly in Auckland, with a lot less people moving around, a lot more people working from home. And then you've also we need to allow more space for access just with social distancing as well. So more space for pedestrian circulation with social distancing, and what might that make our cities look like. And that clashes nicely, or it aligns nicely with a move that we're certainly seeing in landscape design towards the use of tactical urbanism, which is basically design, do, learn, and improve.
So I guess the events of 2020 sort of made me realise, and I think everyone realised, how important the public realm is to users, and it allows you an escape, especially during the lockdown phases. So I hope the importance of the public realm is not forgotten in future years quickly.
And the one thing that people talk about again and again was that going out during lockdown and seeing families cycling down the middle of the road, like big kids, little kids, and how much people missed that when all of the cars came back. And yet we don't yet have an answer as to how we can bring that back into our lives. So I think there was a general regret. Even though we were so pleased the lockdown ended, there was a general regret for some of the things that we lost.
For us, it's probably been more about reinforcing the importance of establishing communities that are really resilient. And those communities, communities are about people, and that's always been the driving, or the driver behind what we're trying to do in the office is make places better for people. So I think, like these ideas of the 15-minute city with Anne Hidalgo, I think I pronounced that right, and this idea of kind of making places where people can be really mobile in times of pandemics, and they know their neighbours, they can make pretty strong connections with the people that are around them. I think that's really important, whether that be a pandemic or whether that be something like a natural disaster. I think the more that we can kind of establish ourselves in these little pockets in urban environments, I think the healthier it is for people.